Welcome, Lead from Within.
Find your own voice.
Challenges we have had to overcome in 2020.
Find your own voice.
The world has become united by the unseen, knowing there are no guarantees for tomorrow.
Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled with it.
For the day has come for you to be a great leader.
The time has come to break away from the pain, distraction, experience the unthinkable.
Welcome to Gospel Talk Shows. My name is Nomsa Clara Mnibe. I am the founder of Hope Spring Eternal Introduction Agency and the founder of Gospel Talk Shows. So today I'm on my own. So today I'll be talking about how to stop your depression now, reclaim yourself, and live again. So during the pandemic, some people have gone through so many challenging times, and some people have faced really deep depression because not used to basically staying, being told like stay in, and some people have got basically they've had to feel the feeling of what depression really is, and it's been tough for some people. So that's what I will be talking about it today. So what are the symptoms of a depression, basically, and what depression is? Most people who get depressed for the first time have had a hard time to realizing what it is. As a matter of fact, it is often basically someone close to you who asks what's wrong, what's going on when you are going through the depression. And this sort of questions makes you think that yes, there is a problem and there are things which are going wrong. So when you don't feel okay, people will start asking you, or sometimes if that person they're not really social withdrawn, if they are withdrawn, and people will start asking questions, and they'll make you really start questioning there is a problem. And what are the symptoms of people who are depressed? The things that depressed people say, basically talking about feelings of sadness or emptiness. When someone is really depressed, they'll they will talk about how hopeless they are, and they will be saying that they are no good at worthless, and they will be saying that they have no interest in anything, and they will be saying they are hopeless that things will get better. And what are the personalities when someone is really depressed? Uh, the personality is they are unable to make decisions. They are unable to concentrate and remember things. When someone is really depressed, they are having trouble at home, working or school. It could be a child, they're having trouble to work in school, and they hide out for not talking to other people, not communicating, slow down movement. So what are the common complaints about depression? No energy, feeling slowed down, trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, working early, loss of appetite, problems, and gaining or losing weight. Those are the signs of depression. Many physical complaints like headache, backache, feeling guilty about past actions, feeling unresolved or unwanted feelings, unresolved feelings or unwanted feelings. So those are the signs of depression, and there's also obvious behavior changing. Unable to stop crying. People stop crying all the time. Somebody's crying all the time, acting irritable, restless and angry, insisting of being alone, stopping normal activities like hobbies or interests, taking drugs or heavy alcohol use. Those are the behaviors. Yeah, there's more behavior, but I won't have time to actually cover everything. Dropping hint about death or dying, committing suicide, the life after he or she is gone, giving things away, seeing loved ones who have died, and they are saying it's finally going to be over. So those are the signs of depression. So how do you look for the signs of depression in you or someone you love? You can take depression indicator test. The depression indicator test is like I am really sad most of the time. If you feel like you are really, really sad most of the time, or I don't enjoy doing the things I've always enjoyed doing, that is positive results. Or I don't sleep well at night and I'm very restless. I'm always tired. I find it harder to get out of bed. So those are the symptoms. For a reason, I eat all the time. I feel like eating all the time. I have lots of aches, lots of aches and pains in the that don't go away. I have little no sexual energy or interest. I find it hard to focus and I'm very forgetful. I feel upset and fearful, but I can't figure out why. I don't feel like talking to people. I feel the good part of my life is over. I feel like I'm walking around in a fog. If you feel that way, and if you have marked all these symptoms, that means you are getting there, depressed. And there's some things that you actually can do to basically help you, basically, which is you can get counseling. Major depression can come from a single horrible event in your life. That is the cause. There's some people that have had life changing. If you ever had a life changing situation, that can cause depression. And single horrible event in your life, any single horrible event that can happen in your life, it can actually cause depression. It may develop slowly as a result of several personal disappointments and life problems. Some people develop symptoms of a major depression without an obvious life crisis. In a major work or study, sleep or eat or enjoy pleasure feelings. This could happen only once, but often happens several times during your life. And somehow, it is major because it stops your ability to function normal. And it can be severe and it keeps you from living your life. If you suffer from this, you feel your work there is no joy, or just getting out of bed becomes almost impossible. You cannot just snap out of it and every day you feel worse. If you get no treatment for this, it can last from 6 to 10 months. But if you get treatment, your help, it seems to run its course. But why is it why in the world would you want to live in this horror for 1 minute longer? But I will have to. If that's what you're going through, why would you put yourself through this? Basically, why would you put yourself through feelings of hopeless and helpless? Why would you thinking of death or suicide? No energy, making yourself go on when you feel there's no energy, feeling tired all the time. Why would you let it go on? If you are feeling irritable and angry outbursts, why would you let it go on, constantly worrying about physical health, drug and alcohol abuse? Why would you let it go on? Difficult sleeping or sleeping too much. If I was getting all these symptoms, I would definitely get help. Waking up very early, not able to get back to sleep, feeling guilty about past actions, appetite changes, memory problems. Why would you let it go on? Having problems at work or school. Suddenly emotion outburst, crying, unable to concentrate. Brooding on going back over problems, lack of concern of physical appearance, slowness doing any task, very, very slow. So why would you let it go on? We were having all these symptoms, basically. For me, basically, I would suggest for you to remember these symptoms can be really severe. And they can be really, really problematic and eventually cause you to be unable to function at work or at home. Major depression can be one time happen a third of the time. But generally, 2/3 of the people who have this will have it repeated or maybe several, many times. The symptoms disappear for a while and then they come back full force. So if you are actually watching this video, or you're watching me, you're listening, and you're going through this, you're experiencing these symptoms, and you really, really care about your life, I'll basically ask you to do something about your life. Because it can cause a chronic depression as well. Chronic depression, this one is a less life shattering than major depression, but it makes anyone who has miserable. It is a constant depression which varies, and it varies from being mild to moderate. It's a sadness that stays with you. It can last over 2 years. Most of people continue working. They go on with the activities and manage to have relationships, but just under the surface is that negative, pessimistic feelings. You never really feel happy or content. Also, if a large stress enters your life, you can go into major depression, which is a strong feeling of sadness, usually lasting for 6 to 9 months. When the depression symptoms go away for a while, and only to return again, is called chronic depression. Everyone experiences sadness at one time or another. But these feelings tend to less with time. Chronic depression is a long-lasting and interferes with daily activities, but not as severe as major depression. You can keep going on, but you wonder why you should. Why do you have to put yourself through that? Sad mood. Why would you let yourself go through that? If you are going through something like that, or you are feeling this, that's what you are feeling. No interest in normal activities, tiredness, loss of enthusiasm, restlessness, keep yourself irritability. If you are distracted, you're feeling distracted daily, difficult making decisions, find it difficult to deal with change, avoiding social contacts, many physical complaints with no basics, being shut up and sluggish, difficulty sleeping or sleeping too much. So why would you put yourself through that? Remember, depression is like a low-grade fever. It hangs around, makes you feel out of sort, hurting, not sure what to do about it. You just know you can't go full steam ahead and don't want to anyway. If you have known people with chronic depression who never are able to experience true happiness or joy in life, this is because they spend most of their time just trying to survive and meet basic needs. They do not have the energy for much else. When you've had ups and downs in your life, and you feel that life is mounted too much, and sometimes if you're going through divorce, and that could be a problem. If you lose a job, that could be a problem, because depression, you feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulder. That that can make you feel you just cannot lighten up. Sometimes the people who are basically depressed, if they like alcohol, they'll just be drinking and drinking themselves to death. Because your life seems to be it seems like you are carrying the whole world. See, if you're really, really going through, if I say if you are having problems like that, to look at the roots, I don't think that would be a good advice for me. I will say if you go through that, you just need professional help, because if you get professional help, and I think that would be a good step for you to actually, if you feel that you don't know where to go about to get professional help, you just speak to a member of the family that you trust, and just try to sort out all these problems. And if you or someone you love is suffering from chronic depression, and you have had a hard road to actually to hoe, there is no room for optimism in your brain, or you just keep trying to put one foot in front of the other. There's no room for that. Try to cope, or maybe try to cope the best you can. It's a bad life, but it's the one that you can change if you want to. It's bad, but the life you can change it. The problem with chronic depression is that the person is suffering from it, and the people around him or her don't get too excited about how the person acts. It affects when someone is depressed, when the family members are involved, it will start affecting them as well. So you can slide by in our society without people much taking notice of whether you are happy or not. Only you can decide if you want to take action, change your life 100% or better. So you can change that. Bipolar and manic depression. When you are in a manic stage, you feel very high, enthusiastic, unable to slow down, very impulsive. You can have bad judgment and do things that you would never ordinarily do. This can cause severe problems with shame and embarrassment. You become very irritated. If anyone suggests you calm down and slow up, you can feel nothing is impossible. You have grand ideas and think you have no limits. Then you enter a depression period. Also, what are the symptoms of manic depression illness? Now everyone who is depressed or manic has every symptoms described. Some may have few symptoms, some many more, and even listed. So how severe depression symptoms are, they vary from person to person, and also varies to the person's age as well. Manic stage describes like abnormal is excessive. So when you have abnormal excessive um, enthusiasm, unusual irritability, less need for help, unbelievable ideas, increase and fast talking, we have racing thoughts, increased sexual desires, acting out sexually, increased amazing energy, the judgment, socially unacceptable behavior, impulsive acts considering no consequences. So the depression state involves a person having constant sadness, feelings of hopelessness, pessimism, feeling of guilty, weariness, helplessness, loss of interest in formerly pleasurable activities, increased interest in sex and difficulty with performance, decreased energy, fatigue, being slowed down, difficulty concentrating. If you find it difficult to concentrating and finding difficulty making decisions, insomnia, early mornings awakening or oversleeping, appetite, overweight loss or overreacting weight again, thoughts of death or suicidal attempts, restlessness, irritability, persistent physical symptoms that don't have a cause. So that can cause problems if you basically you are that somebody who people die as well with depression, and if you are somebody that is feeling all these symptoms that I described, and you do care about yourself, or if you know a family member who is basically suffering with manic depression, and you need that person or yourself, you need to get help, because this one type of depression um, is controlled by medication, unless if you know how to do self-healing. You can do self-healing but it means you have to dedicate yourself, and you have to be disciplined to be able to actually do self-healing. And if you get on the right meds with small side effects, you can tolerate it. You will, if you take medication, you will have a wonderful life with no excuse. But you can actually do self-healing. When I'm going through something, or when I'm sick, I basically do self-healing, but I use prayer. I don't use yoga. I meditate. I use meditation through the scriptures. That it does help. So some people, they use yoga and they use meditation. You can find the meditation on YouTube, and push yourself to change, and knowing that things will get better. Only 1-3 people who are seriously depressed to get help. Make sure you are in that minority group with this one. 1 out of 3, just be the one of them. And sometimes of depression around in the family, sometimes they say it's genetic, and it can be inherited. That is someone, if there is someone in immediate family or parents, siblings, auntie or uncles, you may be more likely to suffer from depression. So I basically, and that's why when I pray, basically, I have to cast out the spirit of depression. So if you are a Christian, you can cast out the spirit of depression and cast out all these things. Because if it's an inheritance, that means it can be sorted out. It can be sorted out. Anything that is inherited, it can be uprooted. It can be removed. If there is someone, or your parents or siblings, auntie or uncles, you're more likely to suffer from depression. So that's why sometimes it is very important to know your family history. And if you know your family history, then you can actually, if you are a Christian like me, you can pray based on your family history. If somebody else suffered through such those illnesses, kind of depression, then that means you are doomed to experience it. So it's very, very important to actually cast out. You can actually go to the scriptures, cast out the depression, because it is we talk about Bob Proctor talked about paradigm. So when it comes to paradigm, you can actually create the life that you want. When it comes to paradigm, you can create the life that you want. If you feel that you have depression, you can actually meditate, and you can actually pray about it, basically casting out that problem. And there are many factors which would play a part: stress in your life at home, work, and even working towards educational goals can trigger to start a depression. So you need to make sure that if you have a low self-esteem and are pessimistic by nature, and you are easily overwhelmed by stress, and you are likely to be a candidate of depression. Or if a relationship has ended, if you come out of divorce, or we say separation, a relationship separation, financial setbacks, or difficult relationship or situation, all these situations can trigger depression. And often basically is or some event that can start depression is a serious loss, like chronic illness, problems with the relationship or divorce, financial problems, or disruption in your life due to circumstances behind your control, like a pandemic. It was behind our control, and the people who get depressed are not sociopaths or psychotics. You get depressed because you are very concerned about your behavior, or sometimes because you are very concerned about what you are, the things that might go wrong in your life. Or let's say if you're having financial problems and you have everything, every life you have, but then all of a sudden the things changes, then you start being concerned. And true evil people do not get depressed because they have no concern about how they may have hurt others. So there are some people that will come into your life and hurt you. And those people, they have no concern about how they've hurt you. And that can cause you depression. Like you can meet it. And then I've looked at online. There's sometimes a relationship dating sites. Um, Men will go on dating sites and women as well, but mostly it's men go on dating site and they register, but simply to target people overseas or to target people for money. And when they do target people for money, um, basically on that dating site, they start talking about that person, and the ones emotionally they fall in love. If they are distance, they fall in love. They know their way, they are far, and then after they start, the relationship starts, develop the chat, and then if people are really desperate, like myself, I'm in the UK. There is no way I can date somebody who is in Africa if I'm in the UK. A distance relationship, and that person I've never met, and there is no way unless they say, okay, I'm gonna come and meet you, and then we start connecting. I'll go back and we start connecting. That way I can understand. But it's somebody you've never met and you meet on the dating site, so sometimes being single, it can lead to desperation, and which is depression. If you have been single for a very long time and you feel that there is no hope for you finding that special person, and you go on the dating site and you meet this person and they seem so real, and then they first thing they start saying, okay, I've got problems with work, and then you start sending money to them. I've met people who've lost thousands and thousands of pounds through the dating site. And those are evil people who do not get depressed because they have no concern about how they hurt other people. Over the past 20 years, it has been accepted that depression is a result of chemical imbalance in the brain. It's not your fault. So when you're feeling that way, your brain isn't sending the right signals, and your body gets basically confused. So the messenger isn't getting the message to the right place, which is your brain. This has a lot to do with you having, that's why you're having sleep problems with the depression, and certain illness can have a very big effect on the brain as well working. And the same is true as the medication people must take for illness. There's a chapter, basically, I'm sure you can buy some books on depression, illness and depression, and just educate yourself about depression. If we tend to be lonely person with low self-esteem, you can go on YouTube as well. If you have little control over your life and worry excessively, you are more likely to develop depression. So it's good to have that information in hand. There are people who have suffered depression and they've written books, or some people have done live as well. And because you are already feeling like you are just struggling to get along. If you are a lonely person, if some big disappointments or crisis come along, you will have more strong reaction to it and perhaps start to fall apart inside. It is true, negative thinking usually develops in your childhood or adolescence. If you feel lack of being approved or praised as a child, if you feel like you never got a chance to be special in some way, you are more likely to be rocked out of your socks when the big trials of life smack you in the head. You are more likely. I've got friends who feel that they have never been supported by their parents. And when crisis comes, the big rock hits them in the head. And that's it. Women actually are at big risk for depression than men. Major and chronic depression affect twice as many women as men. So the statistics say they do not mention that women go for treatment with less of a feeling of stigma than men. Men think they are weak, and when they admit depression, they think they are weak. I don't know where they got that from. That who told them that they need to be strong. They are just human beings. If you are a human being, obviously you're just gonna get hit. There is no doubt that abdominal changes and a woman experiences can be reason why she might be more prone to depression. Hormones do have a role to play in the messages to send it to the brain as well. Um, Family doctors as well are more than twice as likely to suggest that a woman is depressed than a man if a man has if the men they have some symptoms. Sometimes you can have relationship work problems. If you have work problems, stress generally can contribute to depression. There's stress if there is stress involved at work, or if you are struggling maintaining your home, having caring for children, financially and sexual problems. As problems get older, there is the stress of dealing with elderly parents. Some people have elderly parents as well. Sometimes some people get shipped, having jobs shipped overseas. Not having family like myself. My family, I don't have a family in the UK. I've only have my brother. So if you are someone like me, and you are bound to be immune to depression, unless if you have to pray, because um, God can actually help you with whatever situation you are in. So if you pray, if you know that you are dealing with a change, and change always causes the stress. So even positive changes cause stress. Staying married to a person who is toxic, you can it's never good enough. It's never good for you. It can cause the depression problems. If you are married to someone and feel hurt and loved and criticized and not valued in that relationship, then you are bound to have problems with self-esteem. After all, if you are a good person, why should you be treated in such a bad way? And anger at your spouse can have a way of turning around, coming back into you, making you feel guilty, like there is something unloved about you. If you are an unhappy married woman, you are very likely to suffer from depression. And having children, women do have hormonal changes, they become pregnant. Hormonal changes affect the brain messengers. So there is a possibility of depression involved. There is a really mix-up of brain chemicals right after the baby is born. Some women are more likely to have a very upsetting depression after giving birth. It is called a postmortem depression, or many people call it a baby blues. So frequently, if you have had a problem with depression and prior to having a baby, you may have more likely to suffer from depression after your baby is born. It is very scary to have depression feelings when you are supposed to be totally joyful over your child. But sometimes, if you experience these feelings, some women will feel guilty bringing it up, like talking about it. And you need to, what you need to do basically, if you are feeling guilty, you will need to understand that there is a hormonal imbalance, and it is okay to get help, possibly some medication to help you through these times. I don't suggest medication, but you can get medication. You can go to the doctors. Me, I'm all about self-healing. I believe in self-healing. And you don't need to feel awful. Don't feel awful if you are somebody who is not into all this meditation, yoga, and if you are, so then you need to go to the doctors and get some medication without feeling guilty. You love your baby, but you need a little chemical to adjust. So it is also true you become exhausted, basically taking care of that baby, not getting enough sleep because you'll be depressed. And the ways single parents will have to handle all this alone. And with one moving all over country to get jobs, so maybe they being a single parent, it doesn't mean you are divorced. There are some parents, basically people who are married, but they live single because their husband or wife, they have jobs abroad. More couples are bringing up children without support of relatives. Basically, and most couples, they're not prepared for big differences. A baby will make a big differences that a baby will make in their lives. They're not ready for that, because when a child is born, there's a big difference. It's a life changing. Men can feel very jealous. All the attention is going to the baby. It's given to the baby, and be less supportive with the mother. They can feel jealous. And there is more stress if both parents have to work to arrange childcare as well. They are so demanding. It's very, very demanding. The more pressure, the more worried you are and depressed you can feel. Sexually desires romantic moments tend to fly the coop when a baby has colic or is tubing and demands constant attention. So those are the kind of problems that having children starts a totally change in your life. If you have the children to take care of at least, that means 18 years or 16 years. And plus these days the children are returning home after they experience love problems. There are some children, they go to uni, get jobs, and then they experience life problems. They can be with you well into your 60s. The financial and the economic cost of raising a child have risen unbelievable, and let alone the emotional demands. Like right now with the pandemic, there's been so many divorces. Families have divorced, separated, and that means somebody is returning home. When divorce hits a family, that means one of them will be returning home. And that is a pressure, both the parents as well. And often you feel like you are giving everything you came to a child who then thumbs his nose and you tell and basically tells you that you ain't making the grade. There are some parents who raise their children and then the argument comes between families, separation, and then parents can be hit by depression. And that person as well, the child can be hit by depression. This can cause a great deal of depression. Family ties are so special and important, but we all know they can be a source of great stress and problems. Families, families can cause depression. So being a victim and being depressed. Children who are molested, they are more likely to get depressed. There's much higher incidence of depression among individuals. Some children have been raped, assaulted, and stalked. People who are harassed or abused or the job have a higher rates of depression. Any kind of abuse can cause low self-esteem and feeling of having no control of your life, blaming yourself, feeling alone and unable to tell anyone. If you grow up in a dysfunctional family which does not support or love you for just being you, you are much more likely to get depressed. Poverty brings depression. If you are somebody who lives in poverty, especially now in our time of media telling us all what we should have, poor people tend to feel more depressed. When you go on social media, you're being told that this is what you should wear, this is what is trending. Women and children make up to 70% of the people who are poor. Poor people have less access to resources to get the help they need. Low incomes tend to go along with sadness and low moral. These are the things in your environment many times you can control. You cannot control. Combining this with coming from a dysfunctional family, and you have a recipe for disaster when it comes to this depression, creating antisocial people who have a grudge and need to make their anger known. This can cause terrible consequences for all of us. Old age can bring depression. Anyone who tells you the golden years are the best could get a good argument from a lot of people over 50. I know. So many things are happening at this age. Parents are dying. Children are leaving home. Parents, 1 minute your child is here, the next they are home. Hopefully, illness are starting as you retire, things are changing. The death of a life partner, the death of families, the death of children can be a terrible end to a relationship which has latest disaster for years. Our society places so much value on you that we send the message that if you are old, you ain't much. Many times old people will congregate with each other so they feel comfortable. I love older generation. They limit contact with the younger people. Many times that is not good. There are many factors basically when it comes to life situation that seem to enter in along with your depression. Personally, I believe, for me personally, I believe the most important thing to do is to get treatment going and then try to solve the problem which triggers the depression. Self-healing or going to the doctor. I'm not qualified basically to tell you what to do, but I will tell you what I would do as a human being. I will do self-healing and I will go to the doctor and seek help, get medication. I'm feeling so depressed, I cannot think or resolve any problems. You can't be expected to make it out of the pit. It's not a miracle. Getting rid of depression is not a miracle. is something that you have to admit that I have depression and I need help. So you have to actually, as a person, it's not like it's not something that you can actually. It's a process. It's a process. Depression is a process. If you are depressed, you don't feel good, you may tend to self medicate using drugs, alcohol, or both. And alcohol can be a strong antidepressant at first, but then when used continuous, alcohol becomes a depressant. So that's when uh, uh, and alcohol is like many other drugs that can act on the brain. If you drink it regularly, you find that it has less effective on you. You will need to drink more and more. You feel that you need to drink more and more and more, so you can feel more. So you can feel more coping with the situation, but actually you are not coping because you are basically solving problems by creating another problem. It's so easy to get alcohol. You don't need to talk to a doctor or get prescription. That is the drug of choice to deal with the depression more often than not. Basically, alcohol interferes with your ability to deal with the problems which cause you depression in the first place. Many people who have trouble sleeping start using alcohol as a sleeping pill, and it causes no end of problems. In the end, alcohol abuse will really interfere with your sleep. In low doses, alcohol makes you feel relaxed, more able to talk, and able to talk to and be around people if you are shy or lack of confidence. Taking a small amount of alcohol, especially red wine, seems to be a good for heart. That's what they say. The doctor says it's good. I don't drink, but there is a big difference between drinking a glass of wine and drowning yourself a six-pack of the basically the pressure of alcohol. So there is a big difference. Even a few drinks can be present for you. Some of the effects are impaired judgment and decision making, vision substance disturbance, especially peripheral vision, and less coordination, problems with depth perception, slower reaction times, and sleepiness, and feelings of sadness and despair, impaired coordination, and slower reaction times, sleeping to the point of dropping off. And it can lead to obesity as well. It can cause kidney and liver problems. That is alcohol. If you drink alcohol and you're already depressed, it can involve in one half of suicides. It plays a role in many auto accidents. It is often a part of domestic violence. Alcohol and drugs is often a part of assault and homicides. It can allow unacceptable behavior. It can become an addiction. It can ruin relationship and family, and it can also alcohol and drugs can also cost you your job. As you can see, what I'm suggesting to you, that alcohol is not the way to deal with the depression. Drugs is not the way to deal with the depression. Alcohol is very cheap, easy to get, and you don't have to talk over your problems with someone to get it. But it can and will cause you to become more depressed if you are using it to treat yourself. And someone can decide to abuse of street drugs, very easy to get if you can use cocaine or heroin or basically using it to solve your emotion pain. Your pain will only get worse. then you will have not only problems with depression, but also problems with addictions. So you see, the best way in all this is just to get out, not taking any of the substance. You take alcohol, it destroys your body, it destroys your health. You take drugs, it destroys your health, it will destroy your, it destroys everything. So you might as well not do it. And depression also talks along with other serious illness such as heart disease, stroke, diabetic, cancer, and Parkinson's disease, and more. So often doctors will treat illness but not treat the depression which follows along. This is said because if you are so dejected and pessimistic, sick, they basically being about being sick, chances are your recovery won't be the best. So you have to basically be someone that, oh, sorry, you have to be someone basically that cares if you really, really are depressed. And take care of that depression. And if you do take care of the depression, then that means you will get better. You get better. You things will go back to normal. So I'm gonna love you and leave you guys. And if you basically want to talk, if you want to connect with any of our speakers at Ngozi Talk Shows, please go to our website www.hseia.com and just send me an email. This Hope Springs Eternal Introduction Agency website is a dating website, and just send me an email. And then I'll connect you with any of the speakers that you want to connect with. And if you are somebody who is suffering with the depression, try not to take substance, alcohol, or drugs. Just dealing with the problem. Get help. Sometimes we can be afraid of being judged by our family members, about our friends, which is why it's important. That's why you have professionals. If you go online, Google any area where you are, you can find you'll be able to find help, and private and confidentiality as well. These people, when you ring them, they're not going to go and tell your family, or they're not going to go and tell your friends. So everything is private and confidential. So just seek help. Whether you are a man, just go and seek help. When you are seeking help, it actually shows strength. When a man gets up and say, I don't feel okay, I need help, it doesn't show weakness, but it shows the other way around, strength. So just get help and live with grace, everyone. And God bless you. I will see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. UK time. And